sleep is so fundamental that it's so interesting to hear you say how involved you are with all these different industries, because it's such a fundamental human thing that you can basically apply to hotels, poker, corporates, individuals, fitness, literally anything. So, give us a little bit of a teaser of what you mean by sleep as a skill. Like, what do you normally go in there and teach people?
Yeah, great question. And sometimes there'll be pushback. We've been on like over, I don't know, 200 and something different podcasts in the past couple of years. And some people will be like, a skill? How is it a skill? We all can all do it. We're bored with it. How can that be? And what we stand in is that there's a particular opportunity for us to optimize this area versus just kind of getting by and having this be a afterthought or something that's nice to have but not prioritized or what have you. Instead, if we're coming at it from this perspective of skill, then we can begin with kind of sleep 101. And I make the argument that if you really are standing in some of the latest of our research in chronobiology, then we see that how most of us as a society are behaving across the globe. Now, it used to be more siloed, and there were particular areas where there might not be as much of this, but better or for worse, much of the globe is now really impacted by these types of ways that we're living that are outside of these rhythms of nature, which are really dominant in some of this conversation. So what I mean by that is that what we really stand in at Sleep as a Skill is this concept of circadian rhythm entrainment. And that is this process of entraining our circadian rhythm, because our circadian rhythm, this 24-hour rhythm that as diurnal creatures, we're meant to really be active by day and at rest at night, exists on a spectrum. And like any great spectrum, there's, the weak side and the strong side. And we make the argument that many of us in our modern society are hanging out closer to the weak side than we may have been in years past, right? So instead, we're taking a series of behavioral change interventions and certain environmental shifts and various things that we bring in strategically to help support the movement towards that strong side of our circadian rhythm. And what does a strong circadian rhythm kind of look like? Well, it often means that instead of a lot of the efforting that can come about with sleep, because I'll have so many people that will reach out and they're really struggling, and I've been there, and they're really struggling. They want to know, well, what's the magic supplement, app, thing to do, etc., that will just help me turn off my brain at night and keep it off all, 7 to 9 hours. And unfortunately, that approach might not be a winning strategy. However, with this other approach of strengthening our circadian rhythm, what tends to happen is an automaticity of these rhythms, so that you're bringing back that rhythmicity such that you are waking up at around the same time, no matter what you did last night. We all might have that friend or person we know that you'd go out and everyone's out till like 2, 3 a.m. and they're still waking up at their normal 6:30 or whatever. And we might have thought, oh, that sucks for you. We might have thought that was a problem. But it turns out that that's actually what we're gaming for, is that ability to have that sort of anchoring system that is present despite some of these kind of changes in our circumstances, and ability to quickly, with velocity, get ourselves back on track to that rhythm, because our clocks in our body, we have to speak to the fact that our suprachiasmatic nucleus is that master clock that is then communicating with all these peripheral clocks in virtually every cell and organ in our body. And so if there is the missing of that clear scheduling system, which looks like, the timing of our foods, which looks like the timing of our bright light exposure, our darkness exposure, our temperature shifts and fluctuations, as well as even things like thought timing, movement timing, drug timing, all of these things play a role in telling the body what time it is and what to be doing when. And the beauty of this is that when we start to move to the strong side of that circadian rhythm, then there's no longer as much of this need and efforting to find that perfect meditation app to drift us off at night or what have you, because the body has such a pull for that sleep pressure at the right and consistent times for you. And then it's also helping to supply sufficient melatonin to shift us to a sleep onset time that really works, as well as keeping us asleep throughout the course of the night, and then waking up at around the same time, around a kind of consistent and well orchestrated cortisol pulse in the morning. So that becomes the rhythm by which we're striking a chord. And then we have strategies to keep things in alignment, even with travel and time zone shifts and all the complications that might come about from modern living. We really have approaches for that.